Good afternoon. Welcome to this module on Mathematics 4. For this presentation, we will focus on the common errors that were observed during the marking of the assignments. My name is Mweneni. These are my contact details. You can contact me between 6 and 8 in the evening. And once again, welcome. I hope you will enjoy this module on Mathematics 4. We'll highlight the issues that are to be expected in the examination. However, it is important that you go through all the units, all the topics, not only the ones that we are discussing in this presentation, because they will all be examined on, or they will all be assessed. It is important also that you use your study guide, because the setting depends on the study guide and the other recommended materials. Work through the examples that you are given. Practice the learning activities that are provided. This will help you to master the content. You can add additional content, especially grade 10 work, mathematics work. It will help you a lot. It's also very important that you try to understand the problem, try to understand the question before you start answering it. And one way of doing it is to note down all the pieces of information that are given, and also write down what the question is asking you to do. An additional component to this assessment of this year, 2022, is assessing on whether you know how to teach the content, the mathematics content, since you are going to be a mathematics teacher. In the previous assessments, be it examination or assignment, it was just purely content. But now there is this component of the teaching methodology, and we'll discuss more at the end of this presentation on what to expect and what is required. Let's look at Unit 1. Unit 1, it's mostly looking at writing numbers in standard form or asking you to write numbers in words. You would expect a question either in an assignment or in an exam on these components. You also expect questions that are testing the order of operations, or testing proportions and ratios, as well as interpreting straight line graphs and drawing straight line graphs. If you are not asked to interpret, you'll be asked to draw them. And now let's look at the common mistakes that you can avoid in doing your exams or your assignment. One of the common mistake is incorrectly putting calculations in the calculators. That means most students used to put incorrect calculations into their calculators. That means the order of operation is incorrect. The answer will also be incorrect. Let's look for an example. You are given 48 divided by this expression, 19.1 minus 3.5 times 4.6. Now you will find people, they will just take their calculator and start dividing. 48, they divide by 19.1, then they continue to do the other operations. 3.5 times 4.6. This will give you an incorrect answer. So if we are following the correct order of operation, the basic operation of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction, we first have to work out the division part that we are dividing, but since this is an expression, we first tackle this portion. Once we get this answer, is the one that we'll multiply with by 4.6, and the answer that we get here is the one that we use for dividing, we use to divide 48 with. If you don't follow that order, you'll get a wrong answer. So it's always important to make sure your order of operations are correct and you know and understand how to do these orders of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Now let's look at the standard form. You will be asked to write in the standard form. You will be asked to write numbers that are given in a standard form, to write them in words or to expand them. Many students, they find it difficult to write and calculate with numbers in standard form. Some, they only write the numbers and the powers, or with the decimal point in the wrong place. So they write 3 to the power 8 when they actually meant to write 3 exponent 8. So this one and this one are two different things. So you must make sure when you are writing in your standard form, it should be 3 times 10 to the power 8. Or you make sure your decimal point is in the correct place. It depends now if you are given to significant figures, how many significant figures. Then you make sure that your significant figures are correct. Mostly it's 2, but if in this case it's 61.4 times 10 to the power 5, when it were supposed to be here, our point, we put it here and you change your exponent. Another common error was to round to the required order of magnitude, but you forget to write it in a standard form. If you are given the answer and you end up having an answer that is a big number, like for example you are given 6, this big number, now you have to put it in a simple form and you have to put it in a standard form. Now you count. Then it's 1, your point is here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, excuse me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That means we have 8 zeros. And because we put our point here, then now it will be 6.14 times 10 to the power 8. That's how you work out your standard form. You count the number of zeros, and that gives you your exponents. And now we look at Unit 3. Unit 3 is on geometry. Many times students lose marks because they don't recognize the shapes correctly. Some shapes are confused, like trapezium and the parallelogram, they are being confused. Also the triangles, they are being confused. Sometimes you'll be asked to name the triangles, to name the angles and so on, but they are being confused. So you must know your triangles very well. You must know your shapes very well. And with the shapes, you must also know how to calculate the area, their surface area, the volume of things like rectangles, triangles, and so on. You need to know. If you don't know and they come in the examination, then you are not given a formula, you will not make it. You will lose the marks. And then some students have difficulties to recognize the labeling of angles, especially when the 3 notation letter is used. Let's say we have this triangle. Let's say it's triangle A, B, C, and we have to name this angle. They have a difficulty naming the angle. So the angle is here, so we say it's angle BAC. So you must know and study how to label your angles correctly and also your figures correctly so that you don't confuse them. Another error students make is incorrect assumptions about the lines or shapes that were shown in a diagram. Let's say you are given a diagram of a circle. You are given a diagram of a circle, and it's given like this, and it says here is 2, maybe 2 centimeters, and it says calculate the area, or any other question that is posed. It's already clear that this is, you should know the parts. This is a diameter. From the diameter, you are able to also work out the radius. That means you can do some calculations involving a circle. And failing to recognize a line as a diameter, or it will make you lose marks. If it's already quite clear that this is this line, you don't have to be told this circle, this is a diameter. It's already labeled or it's already there. Then you know. Or sometimes you are given a circle and some line like this. Then you already know that this is a radius, and from the radius you are able to determine the diameter. You are able to calculate the area and any other calculations that you'll be asked. Just from that line, you should be able to recognize that. Also, sometimes you are given a triangle, especially isosceles triangle. You are given something like that, or sometimes the angles are, the lines are labeled. Then you know whether it's an isosceles triangle or is not an isosceles triangle. Whether the lines are the same or not. You are given a triangle like this, then you know all sides are equal. You can look at these lines and be able to tell this is a type of this type of triangle. Either is all equilateral, all sides are equal, or all angles are equal, and you'll be able to do the calculations from there. Failing to recognize those lines is very critical, and then it will also lead you to not being able to give the correct answer. Another common mistake was that students did not know the sum of angles in a shape. Sum of angles in a shape. Let's say we have a triangle. It's already given that the sum of angles in a triangle, the sum of angles in a parallelogram, the sum of angles in some shapes, they are there. You know that the sum of angles in a triangle is equal to 180. And sometimes they are confusing between the 180 and the 360 degree. And sometimes you are given exterior angles and interior angles. So exterior angles are the ones that are outside. Exterior, that means they are outside. Interior angles are the ones that are inside. Even the name itself is already telling you. So now these angles, some of them you already know, and they are already proven, and they are given, and you should just know them by heart, by memory, so that you'll be able to use them when you are given these shapes. And you can use them in the formula for calculating the sizes of exterior angles and interior angles. Sometimes some add up to 180, sometimes they add up to 360, but in many cases, then you will know This sum of exterior angles of a triangle, they are 180. And such things you can use to determine or to work out the size, the magnitude of your angles. Sometimes the students, they confuse the lines. They think all horizontal lines are adding up to 360 to 180 degrees, when sometimes they add up to 360 degrees. And that is, they confuse it regardless of whether the angles were around the same point or related by property of lines. So you need to know these properties so that they can guide you. And also another problem that was encountered was through transformations in geometry. One of the common errors was to misread the instruction in the question. And they give a combination of transformation rather than a single transformation. You are given a diagram and it says give a transformation. And instead of giving the single transformation that was required by the question, they give a combination of transformations. And for line of symmetry, they reflected the shapes in the wrong line when they were required to draw a reflection and drew a translation instead. Also, another thing, they found it difficult to give the equation of the line that the shape was reflected on. Also, with the reflection, they also sometimes, the students, they confuse between the x-axis and the y-axis. And similarly also sometimes to describe the rotational transformation, some gave an incorrect center of rotation because they are switching between the x-axis and the y-axis. And when you are asked about the enlargement questions, also they cause problems because when they are describing the enlargements, the students often, they miss to put the center of enlargement in their description. And also one of the main problem I think many people need to focus on is fractional and negative enlargement problems. They confuse the two, especially the negative enlargements. They give problems. Also the negative transformation, sometimes they give problems and reflection when it's on the negative side. You need to look at this very carefully. Now, the last part of this presentation is we look at the component that we mentioned earlier to know how to teach the content. This mathematics content. You are going to be a mathematics teacher and you need to demonstrate not only that you know mathematics, but also to demonstrate that you can teach it. And when you see these questions, mostly it gives you to demonstrate how to teach, however it comes. It only asks you to give a generic lesson plan, mostly just that class daily lesson plan, not a weekly, not too many things. And in this one, you must indicate the topic that you are going to teach. Sometimes the topic is given, sometimes you can pick your own topic depending on the question. And you must indicate the grade or level that you are teaching. Indicate it's grade 6 or grade 4 or grade 3. And you must indicate your learning objectives. What is it that you are hoping to get out of your lesson, or what is it that you want your learners to learn? Your objectives can be 1 or 2, not too many. And then the most important is the instructional strategies, the methodology you are using to teach, the materials you are using to teach, and the activities that you are doing with your class. This is the one that counts for most of the marks. But it doesn't mean the others are not important because they are equally graded. And lastly, you must indicate a component of assessment for your lesson, whether it was successful. Be it the homework that you are giving, be it a classroom activity or a test. As long as you have a component of assessment, that shows that you are assessing the content that you are teaching, then you are good to go. So with this, I don't think you need to lose the marks, because most of the time this type of questions, they ask 20 questions, 20 marks or more. So for this, you are sure at least it have to boost your marks to obtain better marks. There is no reason for you to lose these marks. And in conclusion, I would really like to emphasize, like I mentioned in the beginning, you make sure that you study the whole of your study guide. Cover each and every unit. It's very sad to see a blank paper. When the questions come back, some new units are not answered because maybe the learners did not study them. And if you do leave blank, and then where will the marks come from? So make sure you cover all the units, not only some. You cover all the units, because each and every unit needs to be assessed. And do as many exercises as possible with your learning activity, with other additional materials. Practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more you will know. Good luck with your studies. Thank you.